This is Radstock, a picturesque, sleepy town, once of importance, where the Great Western Railway met and crossed the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. But times and values have changed. The railway tracks have been lifted, the stations closed. Radstock's town station remains for the present, with possibly a new future ahead. The old engine sheds are now the home of a preservation society where locomotives are being restored, hopefully to run again. In 1971, the National Coal Board's Radstock Colliery was still open, working the last of the coal from a depleting seam. The mine used its own steam locomotive to move coal trucks between the pits and the British Railway siding, not half a mile away. The driver said the loco was in grand condition, its boiler having been tested and passed fit only a year before. Indeed, it needed to be, for there was no spare loco. A breakdown would have meant no coal moving from the pit. Asked how long the engine had worked at the mine, the driver said he didn't know, but it was certainly there just after the war, when he first started as one of the 2 engine drivers. The loco eased sweetly into the yard to start her morning's work. A local coal merchant took the opportunity of collecting his coal directly from the pit. Built in 1929, she showed little signs of her age, being one of many similar locos constructed for industry by the Bristol firm of Peckett & Sons. The Peckett loco sets off for a spot of shunting, disturbing the peace of a tranquil Somerset morning, before collecting the coal mined by the overnight shift to take to the exchange sidings. Unfortunately, the mine is situated on a hill, and the British Railways line is at the bottom of the hill. To resolve this problem, the wagons are shunted one at a time to the top of an antiquated, inclined roadway. They are braked and connected to the rope, a full wagon at the top and an empty one at the bottom. And then, very carefully, gravity is allowed to do the rest, man's only control being a crude form of braking. Inclines like this were once a common sight around coalfields, but this was probably one of the last still in use. The men working the incline were not sure of its origins, but some of the winding equipment was dated 1885. Once, there were 2 tracks the full length of the incline, but to save maintenance costs, they were reduced to 1, and switching points fitted. Safety has always been a problem on inclines, and the thoughts of several tons of coal hurtling out of control down a 1 in 4 gradient are not pleasant. The week before this was filmed, the points had failed, and the wagons had collided with unfortunate results. It seemed that stopping the wagons was a self-taught art rather than a science. The exchange of wagons over, the Peckett tank sets off towards the colliery to repeat the process with a second load. Not being a public railway, operations can be slightly unorthodox. The driver is also the fireman, and in this case, he also acts as the pointsman. Leaving his moving train towards the points, he returns to the cab, then crosses to the other side and alights to repeat the operation. Should he trip and be unable to return to his moving locomotive, the consequences could be frightening. At the bottom of the incline, steam gives way to a British Railways diesel that takes the coal wagons on their way. But now, in 1974, both the pits and, as a result, the British Railways line have closed. Perhaps the way is now open for the preservationists to run their fleet of restored steam locomotives.